Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. My parents cut me off because of a misunderstanding and lies that my sister told against me. My parents are big on generational wealth. So they taught my sister and me about financial literacy and how to run a business. It came more naturally to me than it did to my sister. Everyone could tell that I was the more business oriented one among the two of us. Almost a year ago, my parents made me the CEO, though they still had control over the company. It had been a silent battle between my sister and me about who would take over our parents' company. I understand why it should be her, and I don't blame her for wanting the company, but anyone objective enough would know I was the better choice. My parents are not the ones to make emotional choices. It took a lot to get any emotion from them. They were always straight to the point and did what was best, even though it was a hard decision. When I was made CEO, I knew my sister was upset. I tried to get her to talk about it, but she brushed it off, saying she could leave the company for her little brother. I knew she was hurting inside, but if she wouldn't be open about it, there was nothing I could do. I also wanted the company, so it's not like I would give it up. My parents had their way of running the company, but once I became CEO, I decided to change some things. The world had changed since they started the company, and we needed to reflect on that if we were to remain relevant in today's market. So I went to work on adding some eco friendly products. It was the first time our company was ever going this route, so it had its challenges. At some point, it looked like we had wasted a lot of our resources and time. So much money had gone into the project, so I couldn't let it go down the drain. My parents had trusted me too much to let them down. When I first brought my idea to them, they frowned at it, but I persuaded them and asked them to give me a chance. All this while my sister acted like she was on my side. Little did I know that she was a snake in the grass. We found out that someone had paid some people to write badly about what we were doing. So it looked like no one should trust our new product because it was an attempt to prevent us from going bankrupt. So we were trying to bring out something popular with materials that were below standard. I couldn't tell the specifics of what the product was because of confidentiality reasons, but I hope with what I have shared, you can understand me. My parents were so upset, and it was hard for me to get them to listen to me. I was busy in meetings when the news came out, so I didn't even see it until much later. I had missed several calls from my parents, and honestly, I was glad I did. I couldn't help but think that someone in our company was feeding information to our enemies. I didn't think we had enemies until then because my parents were clean and tried their best to do honest business. I told my sister to buy time for me with my parents and tell them I would explain everything during our Christmas dinner. It was a custom for our family to always have dinner at our family house every Christmas. I was so glad when she told me she had spoken to them and they agreed, though they said they wouldn't give me any more time past Christmas. So I had better have a good explanation. I asked for that time because I knew we were onto something. We had done our research and made all the marketing materials ready. This time I worked with only the product managers, the production team, and the marketing strategists. My sister did the finances, so I didn't tell her even though she was very inquisitive. But for some reason, I never really got around to filling her in. Not because I suspected her or anything, it just didn't happen. My sister called me and said not to bother coming home for the Christmas party because it was cancelled. She said Dad and Mom decided they needed a break from all the bad news, so they traveled. She said they mentioned that they wanted some time to themselves. I was disappointed because I had hoped I could explain everything to them properly, like I had told them I would. But then I thought if they were willing to go on a trip instead of getting my explanation, it must have meant that they believed me. I consoled myself by saying everything would have hit off by the time they came back, so they would be welcomed by the fantastic results we were getting. The party was supposed to be the next day, so I didn't go. Would you believe me if I said that we had a pre launch to see how it would go, and it was over the roof? The pre launch was for a select group, but we decided to bring the official launch closer because of how well it went. We have the best marketing team. I didn't like that my parents were not around to see what we did. Days later, my mom called me to say that she was disappointed in me, and she and dad put so much trust in me that they gave me the company instead of my elder sister. I tried to explain, but she said they gave me time. So I was being written off and I was no longer the CEO. I knew something was off. My parents' house was about 2 hours away from mine, so I decided to go there immediately. I came to find out the Christmas party was held, but because of my no show and all the horrible things my sister said about how badly I was running the company, they decided to cut me off. It all made sense to me then. My sister had never been interested in the nitty gritty of the company. She just made sure that we had an excellent bottom line. However, she became more interested and wanted to know what was happening. My parents were confused. They heard two different things from their children, who they had put in charge of the company. I confronted my sister, and she didn't deny anything. She said I was too nice, so I didn't notice. She paid those who wrote fake news about our company. She had hoped that our parents cut me off then, but it wasn't enough. So she knew she had to do something. She said I helped her with her plan when I told our parents to wait till the Christmas party for an explanation, because all she had to do was make me miss it so they would think that everything she had told them was true. She said they had already made her sign some papers and she was supposed to take over from me. She said I should be grateful to her for helping me get out without so much embarrassment because the product failed anyway. It was then it dawned on me that she didn't know that it was a success. The last thing she knew was that we hit some roadblocks, and we have yet to discuss it again. She said she could tell I avoided talking about the product, which was unusual because I bragged about my successes. Hence, she knew that I had failed. It's funny, but I had watched a movie the week before about someone who was framed. I remember her recording the individual as they confessed. So I recorded my sister as she spoke. That was my weapon. But an even greater weapon was the fact the product was a success. But no one knew it yet. I also knew that she sometimes tampered with the finances for her gain. The way I saw it, it wasn't so much to affect the company, so I let her be. After all, it was her company, and I felt a little guilty because I knew she wanted my place. I gathered all my evidence from my sister to receive the shock of her life on the launch day. We already have thousands of pre orders, so launch day would be perfect. I got my parents to agree to give me an audience one more time, but not immediately. My dad was upset that I was making them wait again and threatened that if I didn't show up again, he wouldn't only write me off, he would put me in jail. Knowing my dad, I knew he wasn't joking. Of course. My sister wasn't happy they were listening to me, but she wasn't very bothered because she thought she had won and I was defenseless. I asked my parents to come by the office on the launch day. We set up the conference room to show our back end monitoring for sales. Once we went live, We sold over 50,000 products in less than an hour. My parents were overjoyed, but I could tell they were also confused because of all the lies my sister had fed them. Then I played the recording and showed them that my sister had been taking money that she wasn't supposed to be taking. My sister looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her. My dad demanded an explanation from her. She said it was my parents' fault and that they made her do what she did because the company was supposed to be hers. But they chose me instead because I was a boy, even though she was older than me. My father told her that it had nothing to do with gender and that he and my mom just picked who they felt would be able to deliver, and they were glad they made the right choice. He added that he understood her twisted mentality in some way because she was jealous of me. However, he didn't understand why she stole the company's money. He concluded that she would pay the price since she did everything to make them disown me. Effective immediately, she no longer worked in the company and had no right to it. He said with sadness in his tone, "Daddy's little girl isn't so little anymore, so she has to face the consequences." My sister looked at me with so much pain and hatred and left. I wasn't expecting my parents to disown her. I just wanted to uncover the truth and get what I finally believe is rightfully mine. AIAH for getting my sister disowned and jobless? NTA, your sister didn't care about you and was ready to see you go down so she could take your place. She deserves everything happening to her and more. NTA, you only said your truth, and your sister was found wanting. Your parents must have known that she wasn't credible. That's why they picked you. So make them proud and never think that you don't deserve the company or that you took it away from your sister. I'm male 30. My little sister, female 25, is getting married. I'm super excited for her. She's getting married to a great woman who she loves. They make a great couple, and I know she's always wanted to get married. My sister and I have always been close growing up. She's probably one of my best friends. I was one of the first people that she told that she's getting married. She asked me to be her best man, and I enthusiastically agreed. Things were going great until her engagement party this weekend. The plan was brunch at 10:30 and then to go to my sister's place and chill. It worked since it was only 5 people. It was less of an engagement party and more of a casual get-together. Now, I'm someone who loves to sleep, especially on the weekends. I'm a bit of a workaholic and tend to be the last one out of the office, first one in. I'm married to my job. My sister knows this about me, and she knows that I have a big project coming up. So on Friday, I was at the office until 9 and didn't get home until 10. I passed out and slept through my alarms. I woke up at 11. By the time I rolled out of bed, I had already missed brunch. I texted my sister telling her I'd be late and show up at her apartment. I arrived and she seemed annoyed, but didn't say anything. After everyone else had left, she asked me if there was anything else I wanted to tell her, and I said no. She sighed and asked me to leave. Today, I woke up to a text saying that she no longer wants me in her wedding party. I asked her why, and she told me it's because I'm always late to everything and don't make her a priority. Not true. I tried to argue, but she completely shut down the conversation. I told her that if I'm no longer in the party, I'm not going to the wedding. And she just reacted with a thumbs up. My girlfriend thinks I'm an a-hole and should apologize, but I don't see why. My sister knows I work long hours and am a heavy sleeper. I made it to the tail end of the party, so why does it matter if I missed the mimosas and eggs Benedict? AITA? Just because your sister knows that you don't give a shit about respecting other people's time doesn't mean she has to put up with it. Being late to an important event for her is already an a-hole move. The fact that you didn't even think you should have apologized the minute you got there late shows just how self-centered you are. And the absolute childish, then I won't go to your wedding move, as if it's all about you, is just the cherry on top of your entitled behavior. YTA, stop making excuses. You are not the victim in this situation. YTA, I would have maybe been more inclined to be on your side if you genuinely seemed sorry, but you think being married to your job is some badge of honor that gets you out of being responsible for the other obligations in your life. Newsflash, it doesn't. Based on her reaction and your attitude about how everyone knows this, I would almost guarantee you have let her and other people in your life down more than once. Reap what you sow. If you want to commit your life to a job, that's on you, but don't expect everyone else to let you get a free pass on showing up for them. YTA, not for sleeping through your alarm on one occasion, but for how you handle it. I find it odd that you don't seem to make any adjustments. If you sleep through your alarms, get a louder alarm. I get tired. I've worked 13-hour shifts several days in a row at a time, but I still set my alarm and went in the next day. If you can turn up to work after a day like that, you can turn up to a party where you are expected. Or at least apologize. I can't believe you never apologized for missing half the party. Of course she kicked you out of the wedding party. You've made it clear you'll probably miss her wedding ceremony and turn up without an apology several hours later. If you want to be in the party, you need to be bloody on time at bare minimum. And you've made it clear you just can't be relied upon to take that seriously. It sounds like you regularly flake on your sister. If this had been a one-off, I can see how it might be an innocent mistake. But your sister gives the impression that you frequently turn up late without apologizing, and you clearly don't believe you need to apologize for flaking or turning up late. I love my mom. I wouldn't say we're close, but I do love her. She's never had the best relationship with my wife. Nothing awful like you read on JNMIL, just a bit tense and awkward around each other. Then my wife exposes my mom's relationship to the family before my mom was ready. My mom had told everyone how much she hated this man for years and gone on some public smear campaign. And I guess they weren't really officially dating at the time, and she didn't want anyone to know. Honestly, my wife was just gossiping, but I think my mom overreacted. She went on a nasty rant about my wife, and I cut her off for about 6 months. My mom has never really apologized and said we need to apologize to her. Now, 2 years later, she is marrying the guy. I did try to get her to reconcile with my wife, so they visited one time, but that was a disaster, and my mom feels my wife was an awful host. Anyways, my mom called me and invited me to the wedding, but said my wife can't come. She said she doesn't care if it is bad etiquette. My wife has treated her badly and she does not want to have to see her. I said I was sorry, but could not publicly disrespect my wife like that. My mom made a snarky comment about how she didn't actually expect any better from me, so I hung up. Now, the entire family is treating me like trash. They are saying I need to suck it up because weddings are special and just let her have what she wants for one day and then work on boundaries, and I owe it to her. Her brother sent me a nasty message about how my wife gossiped, was a bad host, and how dare I expect my mom to follow etiquette when my wife can't. I feel really bad, but to be honest, I'm not sure how much she even cares. We aren't close. The people she is actually close to are going to be there, and I feel like I need to defend my wife. NTA. It doesn't matter who it is in your life. You don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe your mother time just because she gave birth to you. You don't need to forgive people, and you certainly don't need to create boundaries after a certain event, in this case, a wedding. I feel that if you would go, YWBTA to your wife. And only set yourself up for more boundary pushing from your mother, who, by the way, already said she didn't expect much from you. Family is just the unfortunate people you were born with. True family are the people you choose to be in your life, to be supportive and loving. This is a tough one. It sounds like your mom and your wife had not ever really gotten along anyway. Your wife had no business telling everyone your mom was seeing someone, especially since your mom was trying to figure out if she even liked the guy. It then turned out that they apparently worked out their differences and fell in love. To which your gossipy wife goes and tells everyone what is going on, despite the fact it was your mom who should have had the rights to tell. I'd be pissed too. Then they make an attempt to mend fences, and your wife gets called a bad host, which you do not elaborate as to why, which is to me a piece of information that would be helpful to the story. Maybe your wife was shitty to your mom then. It's your mom's wedding, so it's her right to invite who she likes, and maybe she feels your wife will pull something at the wedding. And the comment she made about expecting nothing less from you seems appropriate since I'm thinking you constantly back your wife up, which is your job, your duty is to the family you have now. However, it doesn't give your wife a free pass to be an a-hole forever either. ESH.